Well, he is vice president of digital content at Fox Sports. It is Mike Bucklin, but he only goes by Buck. So if you yell Buck, that's probably the only reason he's going to turn his head. He is on Twitter at the Buck Stuff, and he is going to talk about his career, including his fledgling basketball career. We have a lot of questions to bring about when it comes to that. So we're going to talk about that on this On to Something podcast. I'm Bryan Fenley, a national anchor at Fox Sports Radio. I'm on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. All right, enough of that. Let's get right to business here, Buck. And it wasn't long ago when I had Adam Stanko on, and he lauded about your play while at ESPN and those pickup games. And certainly for folks who don't know your background, you've played college ball. And then a couple weeks ago, another one of your former colleagues at ESPN, Doug Gottlieb, now at Fox Sports Radio, and of course working with Fox, he brings you up on his show on the radio and gives you all sorts of praise as far as a basketball player. So I got to ask you, like, what is your money move on the court if you're getting all of this praise from all of these important people in the business?
My money move is the pull-up jump shot on the court, and off the court it was to get a good GPA so that I could contribute to something for the team. But, all the guys, the stat nerds will tell you don't take the long twos, but the long two is my specialty.
Especially that corner jumper. I think there's a lost art there. But are you comfortable saying that, invalidating what Gottlieb said about you and Stanko? Like, when you think about the best non-NBA players at ESPN at the time you were there who would engage in these pickup games, how high up were you on the pecking order as far as talent, basketball-wise?
Well, there's a couple different factors. I mean, first, I love Stanko, and he's so kind to bring me up on that list, and it's nice for Gottlieb to say nice things too. Don't get me wrong, I'm a competitor. I like hearing those things, but Stanko is dead wrong. The best player to ever play in that league that didn't play in the pros was Karan Barnes, and Karan Barnes played at Columbia, I believe, for 4 years, was a starter, double digits, I think, all 4 years. I was thinking about it, this morning when I was driving in. I was like, I was thinking about Karan, and he's one of the toughest players I've ever played against, where there was absolutely no chance that I was going to stop him.
Oh, wow.
I could only maybe hope to contain him a little bit, but he's the kind of guy, you play defense against him, you're basically playing roulette. He's either going left, he's going right, or he's shooting above you, and your only chance is to guess correctly, but he's stronger than me, taller than me, faster, quicker, smarter. I just got to try to guess, is he going left or is he going right? And there was a lot of great battles back in the day, but he was definitely the best player. There's another guy named Thompson that played on our team in that league, the EBL, who was he's the kind of guy you could throw an alley-oop to and throw down, and everyone in the gym just stops and looks at him like, wow, okay. If you ask me for my list, it's Karan 1 and it's Thompson 2.
When I brought it up to Doug, he almost took it as an insult, and it was not supposed to be an insult because Stanko was giving him a compliment. But I think for Doug, obviously, how close he was to making the NBA and being in these training camps and playing overseas, that, he was a step above everybody. How did you defend him, or what was the best way to stop him on the court when you guys were playing in those pickup games?
Well, I mean, the first thing to remember is, we all see Doug after his career's over. He's played overseas. His focus is mostly on growing as a broadcaster, a pretty talented broadcaster. And if you look at Doug's career, this guy played in what I think 3 or 4 NCAA tournaments. I think he led the league in assists a few years, in big time Division I. I think he's still on the record books. He's unbelievably talented, and when he comes and plays with us, I'm really proud of the league, and I think the talent was really, really up there. It really was. Almost everyone played college or was a big time athlete in some way or form. You're also playing at a place that totally embraces, competition. The court was in the very middle of campus. People would come sit in bleachers and watch. There was a scoreboard. There was referees, the whole works. At the same time, Doug is so much, more accomplished than the rest of us on the court, and I know this just from being a walk-on, is when you step on the court and you're labeled a D1 basketball player, you got a target on you and everyone is playing you like it's the NBA finals. Doug probably had that in spades. And every time he showed up, everyone's going to give him his best. And of course, he's out there trying to be competitive. At the same time, he's trying not to get his nose beat in because he's got to go on TV that night, and he's not looking to tear an ACL or sprain an ankle. So I also think his superhero power was passing, court vision, ball handling, passing. It's not like he's got, the types of athletes he had on the wing, when he was playing in college, hitting corner threes and going back door for dunks. So I think he gave us his moderate effort. I think that, no, I would not say he was the best performer in the history of the league, but if he wanted to be, he probably could have been.
We're joined by Buck. He is VP of Digital Content at Fox Sports. I'm Bryan Fenley, and anchor at Fox Sports Radio. So aside from Doug and aside from any other player employed by Fox that played in the NBA, who is the best basketball player on the Fox lot or does work with Fox?
That's a good question.
Chris Broussard talks a lot of trash. Chris Broussard says he's pretty good.
So there's a little bit of a thing here, right? When you're in the middle of Bristol, Connecticut, everyone plays in the same league. It's really tight knit, right? Everyone goes to the same restaurants, plays at the same gym, works out in the same gym. LA is a little different. People go home, they go in their different communities. So it's not as you don't see everyone in the gym after work. So it's hard to say. I'm sure there's some great players here. Chris Broussard is pretty good. He's
really?
Pretty good. I'm going to say he's got athleticism is, I think he probably left that behind in college a long time ago, but I had him down in New Orleans and we went to some little run where, someone was asking him to play, shoot around a little bit. And I guarded him and I got to tell you, hit a hook shot on me. I'll send you the B-roll. It's pretty impressive. So yeah, he's the first guy that comes to mind. He's pretty good.
Wow. What comes to mind when you were that freshman head basketball coach at Oconee County High School, the coaching philosophies that you brought to the table as a freshman head coach? Take us back to that time, that era.
Well, remember, like at that age, everyone misses. You don't have any pure shooters. No Steph Curry's out there. So the first thing you got to do is keep people out of the paint, make them shoot from deep because that's hard. And the second thing you got to do is get the rebound. And so I look back at those days, and I think we probably didn't score, many points for the first 6 games, but we rebounded, we played defense, and cleaned up a lot of bricks. And I think we lost our first 6, and I think we won the state tournament. So that shows you what kind of curve we had. Got to perfect that shell defense, get the rebound, and go the other way.
Your brother, if I'm not mistaken, is with Clemson. And so obviously he has a big basketball background, as you do as well. If we put both of you one-on-one right now on the court, I guess you call fouls, so it's not totally street physical. Who wins in that one-on-one battle?
I obviously win. One of the reasons I obviously win is because I will take it far more seriously than he will. The second I start playing hard, he'll be like, relax, it's just a one-on-one game, man. Where I'll be out for blood. So I'll win through effort.
Are you talking trash or what are you saying to your brother out there after you score on him and you go to the rim with the right hand?
Oh, without a doubt. I'm known to chirp a little bit. When your athletic abilities go down the tank, you gotta get in their mind a little bit, and mess with their head a little bit. So yeah, but my brother's pretty good. I mean, my brother's what he hangs over my head is I was a walk-on who stayed a walk-on. He was a walk-on who earned a scholarship. So I think my parents are happier with him for that reason too.
As a walk-on, you at Georgia, aside from helping elevate the team's GPA, what was your greatest athletic achievement as a walk-on with the Bulldogs?
There's a lot of things you got to do as a walk-on. First of all, anytime your team scores, you got to wave the towel above your head, like helicopter motion. Very, very important that you get that right. The camera operators love to hit you with the post dunk reacts. That was big. Can't be going out and getting in trouble at night. You got to be in on a Friday night playing Halo in your dormitory, keeping things low key, trying to get the star players to play with you so they stay in too. But no, what you do is you show up an hour early, you learn the other team's offense, and you try to run that offense and you try to mimic that player. And that can be really fun. You play against Gonzaga, they got Adam Morrison on the other team, and you got to be Adam for a week in practice and shoot 30 footers. And
You had to be Adam Morrison.
Oh yeah, man. And you get up shots, and you wear a red jersey, they know who you are, and they tail you, they deny you. And that was always really fun. Another thing you do is you stick around, show up early with the best players, rebound for them, you know. Probably the greatest accomplishment that I ever had with Georgia is you've heard a million people talk about how they get their ankles broken in by a crossover. You know, it's like, oh, he's so good at crossing someone over, he broke someone's ankles. You've never actually heard that happen. When I was a sophomore, our point guard was named Rashad Wright. Rashad was drafted by the Pacers last round of the NBA draft. Rashad was probably 6'2", strong as an ox, could jump out of the gym, beautiful three ball, defensive player of the year in the SEC multiple times. And he had one of the greatest running crossovers you've ever seen. I don't know anyone else that has a running crossover. And we were playing in the NIT, and the night before the game, first game against Iowa State. And we did this half court one-on-one drill. The whole goal is you got to push him to the corner. I'm like, there is not a snowball's chance in hell I'm pushing Rashad right to the corner. And he caught me with a running crossover, and I felt something in my foot pop.
Oh.
I couldn't walk for about 48 hours. And about a month later, I realized it was broken. So I think I'm probably the only player ever that's had their ankle actually broken by a crossover. Very proud of that.
Well, you were probably the genesis of that term. Everybody saw you.
I think the term existed, but I'm really proud to have actually pulled it off. I feel like it's a pretty rare thing.
When you made the crossover from playing basketball to then going into the media space, what was it like transitioning to Fox and what they saw from you? You had been at ESPN, if I'm not mistaken, Buck, for like 10 years. So you had all these great ideas, work with so much high tier talent. So what did they see from you and convinced you to head to the West Coast?
Well, you know, ESPN made digital a priority really early on. You know, I don't remember the first year it was, but I knew that digital was a very early priority, and they were very innovative on that in that respect. And I was, you know, right place, right time. I was working in interactive gaming at the time. I was in a business development role, and some things just happened. You know, we were working really closely with the folks from EA Sports, and they said, hey, with the advent of social media, would you guys be interested in letting people vote on who's going to be on the cover of the Madden video game? And we were like, absolutely no brainer. We put together a full project. I saw this on Jeopardy recently. It was a question: who won the initial Madden cover vote? Peyton Hillis did. He beat Michael Vick in the finals, and it was, I think, the first time we had listened to fans, you know, and let fans online determine the outcome of an event or a poll or something of that nature. We do that all the time now, but at the time we'd never done it. And when Peyton Hillis, because, you know, fans in Cleveland are so rabid, voted him on the cover of Madden, I think it was the first time we drove significant traffic through something like that. First time something digital had a TV payoff. We drove enormous traffic back to our website for voting and polling as well. We had we made money. We had Toyota come in as a sponsor at the time, which I don't think anything social at the time had been sponsored. And it kind of just led to this new world of, well, social is not just tweeting and posting anymore. It's a business. It can drive traffic and have a linear payoff. It's a multimedia experience. And that led to more opportunities like that. And we were doing more multimedia, cross-channel, digital television, social activations, and getting on the ground floor of that was pretty fortunate for me. I think it was after that event, they decided to actually create an official social media group. Social media evolved from just text to photography and design, at some point to video. And before you knew it, you know, it took a full department to pull off a really solid social media strategy. And when Fox was going through some changes, they thought, hey, you know, we want to have a fully integrated strategy, television to digital to social. I was thankful they thought of me, and I think it was my 10th year. Loved ESPN. Just, you know, 10 years is a lot. Thought I'd try a different coast, different climate, and I'm really happy I did, because I've really enjoyed it out here.
Now that you're at Fox, what is the social media post that's gotten that you've been behind that's gotten the biggest impressions? And when you look at the analytics of it all,
that is a good question. We've had a couple things go viral. You know, there was something recently. that comes to my mind where I want to say I think Colin Cowherd was talking about Baker Mayfield, and
Of
I
course.
think something about how I want my quarterbacks, to not believe in UFOs. And I think Tom Brady retweeted him, and I think that went pretty viral. He said, "How do you know I don't believe in UFOs, Colin?" I believe is what he said.
Yeah.
But it's almost always when major stars in sports, see some of the content that we create and they amplify it and they react to it. Although one exception, one thing that actually took a minute, but it just came to my mind, is during the World Cup, we were in Moscow, and the first night we were there, the fans outside, the fans who travel in from different countries were so loud. And I'm in my hotel room. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to sleep. I think it was like a 12, 14 hour difference or something like that. And I go down outside the hotel, and there's Mexican fans as far as you can possibly see. And they are the greatest fans. I mean, they traveled all the way from, Mexico to Russia to cheer on their team. And they had a coordinated chants and cheers, and they were chanting for one of their stars, Chuck. I can't think of his name now, but it was one of their new young players,
Yeah.
and they were chanting his name all night. And I was like, you know what, the team will think this is funny. So I took video of it and I sent it back to the team over Slack, and I went to bed, and I woke up the next day, and I think that thing had 10 million views. And
Gosh.
fans loved watching other fans have fun at a sporting event. And it went super, super mega viral. I think it was 20,000 retweets or something like that. And yeah, that's one that sticks out as well.
With that said, and we're with Buck, better known as VP of Digital Content at Fox Sports. The Buck stuff is his Twitter handle. I'm Bryan Fenley, an anchor at Fox Sports Radio, on Twitter at Bryan Fenley. Off that point you said, I want to leave you with this last question here, Buck. How do you see yourself as a pioneer in sports media in the digital space, and cutting edge, or thinking new ideas and experimenting and being creative, if you will?
Sure. If I had to pick something, I'd probably say one of the things that I like, that I think our team buys into, is this idea of data-driven programming. And how I would describe that to someone who's not in the weeds of what we do is look at the way maybe like a Moneyball works, right? And it was taking a data-driven look at athlete performance and who they should bring on to the Oakland A's at the time. We try to think, how do we let fans' voices online, which we can measure, tell us perhaps what we should be doing or how we should be doing it, or the types of people that we should bring onto our team. We generally believe that people who have online communities thrive in digital. We found a young man named Ben Verlander, who was crushing it on Twitch, playing MLB The Show. And every night he would play, and this huge group of people would come watch him. And anyone listening, you can do that almost any night of the week. He'll get on Twitch and play MLB The Show. We're like, oh, this guy's interesting, because he has a community. And when we bring him on, and we did a World Series watch party, which we just won an award for, and just got nominated for an Emmy for. We had more questions than we've ever had before, because he brought a community, and that's something that you can measure. That's not a subjective take on our part. We can work with our research analytics department, who has the greatest community online, the most engaged community online, and we can bring those types of people to our department. And that's how we found RJ Young as well. You look at someone like Charlotte Wilder, who has an enormously engaged community online. Someone like Mark Titus has an enormous community online. Jason McIntyre has a community. Ryan Satin has a rabid WWE community. And when we find these people that have these proven communities, not just a lot of followers, but high engagement, and we ask them to hey, do you have an opinion on whatever topic that people are also talking about? That's a really big idea, and it's worked for us. And as an example of this just happening in like the last 30 minutes, is we just saw that Penei Sewell was trending. And I sent Jeff Schwartz a text. I said, Penei's trending. And he went and took some of the great interview work he just did with Penei, and he redistributed on social. I think he even wrote, I heard it's trending here. If you want to see my interview, here it is. And we try to follow that data, because there's so much out there. It's such a mess. And if you're going to cut through it, you got to be really strategic.
And there's no better person to drive through all of that than Mike Bucklin. The Buck stuff, VP of digital content at Fox Sports, who to this day is undefeated against his brother one-on-one on the basketball court. I'm Bryan Fenley, an anchor at Fox Sports Radio. Buck, this was a whole lot of fun, man. Really appreciate you.
Hey, anytime you want to talk about the EBL, I'm in. So you just let me know. That's
Yes.
sport for today.